Scar Dog. Chen Zhang squatted on the edge of the sidewalk, staring at a storefront called Prop Shop amid the busy traffic ahead. He narrowed his eyes slightly and said softly, "No problem, let's do it." On the side, the scrawny and slender body was slightly thin. The Scar Dog, who was squatting on the fire pole, was wearing looser sportswear, and threw the cigarette that was about to burn out on the ground. He jumped off the fire pole again, and after stamping out the scarlet on the cigarette butt, he replied, "Brother Zhang, let's get started. After this vote, we can rest for a few days." "It is good." Chen Zhang nodded lightly and looked down at the watch full of technology on his wrist. 18 hours, it's exactly 6 o'clock, the time is just right. Afterwards, Chen Zhang also slowly got up, and walked straight to the prop shop across the street as if no one else was there. At the same time, a driverless heavy truck suddenly appeared in the middle of the street, knocking over many vehicles, and finally rolling over on the street. Suddenly, the scene became extremely chaotic and noisy. Countless roars and mourning suddenly sounded, attracting the attention of all the people around, and also attracting the patrol drones with full firepower hovering in the air. The time has come. The speed under Chen Jiang's feet became faster and faster, and finally evolved into a trot and rushed straight to the prop shop. The moment he rushed in front of the shop, he took out a self-made hand with a muzzle as thick as a forearm from his arms. The gun, on the forehead of the shop owner who rushed out to watch the excitement, pulled the trigger without the slightest hesitation. Bang! The head of the shop owner, like a pulped cherry tomatoes, exploded in response, like an oil painting that seemed to come alive. When several employees who rushed out of the store heard the sound of killing, when they saw Chen Zhang killing people, the words Chen Zhang suddenly appeared on the top of their heads. They suddenly looked angry and full of disgust. They took out their firearms from their arms and aimed at Chen Zhang, ready to pull them. Trigger. Damn alien bugs! Why are you calling your grandpa? Scar Dog, who had rushed in early, took out a shotgun with a terrifying caliber from his arms, aimed at the two employees in front of him, and pulled the trigger first. Bang, bang, bang. There were 3 consecutive dull gunshots. The 2 employees who had not had time to pull the trigger were lying on the ground like balloons filled with water thrown on a needle bed, their bodies covered with bullet holes, their bodies twitching unconsciously, and blood was constantly flowing out. Hurry up! Chen Zhang glanced around and saw that everyone around was attracted by the heavy truck. Only a few people noticed the situation here. The body was dragged into the shop. And Scar Dog also dragged a corpse into the store. It's just that the blood doesn't have time to clean up. But it doesn't matter anymore, I didn't expect to hide it completely, just delay a few minutes to count a few minutes. After the 2 of them dragged the corpses into the shop, Scar Dog quickly pulled the shop door down, turned to look at the dazzling array of props on the shelves in the shop, couldn't help swallowing secretly, and muttered. Brother Zhang, this time we have made a fortune. Go to the warehouse. Without any hesitation, Chen Zhang took the boss's corpse in his hand and strode toward the single room at the back of the store. The items that can be placed in the store are all display items. The real large warehouse goods are all in the warehouse. Of course, a warehouse with a small storefront cannot have many props, but this is enough to satisfy their appetite. Soon, the 2 saw an old-fashioned security door with a fingerprint lock, not a pupil lock, and the information was correct. Chen Zhang picked up the corpse of the shop owner in his hand and directly printed his palm on the display screen in front of him. Ding! The lock was unlocked successfully. With a crisp sound, Chen Zhang threw away the corpse in his hand, hit on the side and smashed the door with the handle of a gun. After seeing nothing out of the ordinary, he took out a small mirror from his arms and stretched it out to observe through the mirror the scene inside its warehouse. However, when he saw it, he froze in place. The warehouse in front of me, the props placed in it seem to have exceeded their expectations. The turret with 6 barrels seems to be a self-controlled rotating turret in this world. It is absolutely impossible for such a high-power defensive weapon to appear in a small prop shop. This time, I may have stepped on a nail. And this time there was a slight hurried voice from Scar Dog outside, Brother Zhang, all the surveillance files have been taken away, but the defense system of this storefront, which is connected to the Law Enforcement Bureau in City 16, has automatically called the police. It's only a few blocks away from the Law Enforcement Bureau, and we only have 3 minutes at most. Damn! Chen Zhang couldn't help cursing. It was absolutely impossible for an ordinary prop shop to connect the defense system with the Law Enforcement Bureau, and this time it was obvious that he had stepped on a nail. He rolled up his sleeves and took out a large sack made of special material from his arms. While rushing in to put the props in the warehouse into the bag, he hurriedly said, "Call Maisie, the plan has changed. Let him send a car to pick up in advance." Yes. While calling Maisie on the phone, Scardog also took out the sack from his arms and was about to rush into the warehouse, but when he saw the fort with 6 barrels, he suddenly froze in place and said in disbelief. "You reading www.yuyuganshu.com Brother Zhang, this thing is not a steel sword self-controlled rotating turret, right? How could such a large caliber thing appear here? How the do I know, this time it's obviously stepping on a nail. It is estimated that some big guy has placed a big order in this prop shop, and the goods are all here. Brother Zhang." Scardog swallowed secretly, a trace of greed flashed in his eyes. "I want to take this thing away. This thing is so big, how do you bring it? Just say Brother Zhang, do you want it?" Grass. Chen Zhang couldn't help but scolded secretly. It's true that birds die for food, and people die for wealth. You carry that thing on your shoulders, and I'll pretend otherwise. Okay. A trace of excitement flashed in Scardog's eyes, and he ran straight over, stroking the smooth metal lines on the fort as if he was stroking his lover, and said excitedly, "No damage, perfect steel sword self-controlled rotating fort, this requires at least 500,000 trust me." But at this moment outside the store, the familiar mechanical horse sound of the drone suddenly came. "A warning, ask the bandits in the shop to quickly put down their weapons and come out to surrender. Second warning, ask the bandits in the shop to quickly put down their weapons and come out to surrender." Damn! When Chen Zhang heard the words, he immediately stopped his movements, put the half-full sack on his shoulders, and took off the wristwatch on the wrist of the boss's body on the ground. With a slightly anxious expression, he hurriedly said, "Where's Maisie? This dog thing, if you don't send a car to pick it up, you won't even want to get 10% of it." And here. Scar Dog also received the news from Maisie's side, and his face instantly turned gloomy, and he said ugly, "Brother Zhang, Maisie's side temporarily raises the price, and wants 60% of the gains from this operation. Accept him." Chen Jiang's face was cold, and with a vigilant expression, he held a hand cannon in one hand and aimed at the curtain of the store, ready to deal with the drones that would rush in at any time with full firepower. "It is good." Scardog also looked a little ugly, and quickly conveyed the news. If Maisie's side delayed a little longer, they would be completely planted here this time. As for surrender, that is even more absurd. These outsiders, and the original natives of this world, have a natural antagonistic relationship. There is no sentence to say that, if they are caught, they will be killed on the spot. With their self-made firepower weapons, naturally they can't match the well-established firepower of this world. However, at this moment, the drone sound outside the store sounded again. 3 warnings, ask the bandits in the shop to quickly put down their weapons and come out to surrender. 3 warnings are over. Apply for permission to unlock firepower. The application is successful. Firepower permissions unlock 38%. Ready to fire. The next second countless bullets were like hailstones, until they penetrated the door curtain, and shot towards the store until they were lasing. Chen Zhang quickly hid behind the deck in the warehouse, and turned his head to look at Scar Dog with a slightly angry expression. Where's that old thing from Maisie? Is he going to the family's funeral? Where did the person die? Maisie has raised the price again, to 90%, otherwise he will never send a car to meet him. Understood. Chen Zhang suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and there was a flash of enlightenment in the corner of his eyes. This is not going to come at all, and wants us to die here. They crossed into this world 3 months ago. So far, I still don't know what kind of world this is. I only know that this world is more advanced in technology and more advanced in firepower. 3 months ago, everyone in the world crossed into this world. However, it seems that the people of this world were not very surprised by this matter, but made defensive preparations early, and the moment they landed, they quickly organized manpower and firepower to massacre them. He didn't know how many adults died in that massacre. But he knew about the massacre, which killed many, many people. At that time, among the group of people around him, only he and Scar Dog escaped, and the others died. After a month of exile in the wild and fighting against those mutant beasts, they met a human gathering point that Maisie built in the corner of a ruined garbage dump. After that, he and Maisie worked together. He planned the action and executed it, while Maisie was in charge of fire support and response. 2 people, 5 or 5 points. After several actions, it was considered a tacit understanding. For example, the unmanned heavy truck was supported by Maisie, but according to the plan, Maisie should have sent an off-road vehicle with a deck to wait for them at the back door of the store. Only Maisie owns a deck off-road vehicle that has been illegally modified without permission. However, this time, Maisie obviously didn't intend to let them live. Call. Chen Zhang stuck his head out and looked at the door curtain, which was riddled with holes. He had heard the siren whistling in the distance. He felt a little bit of pain. Small stones glowing white. Item name, X18 Energy Block. Item level, 1 a star item. Props introduction, it can be used to provide energy to all mechanical products such as vehicles, weapons, and drones. It is the most common energy block and a product on the assembly line. Prop manufacturer, 18 City, Hofet manufacturer. Almost all the props and items in this world, when they come into contact with them, a picture of information will appear in their minds. The specific principle is not clear, and they have no energy to understand it. He handed the energy block to Scar Dog and said in a slightly hurried voice, "Here, use this, hurry up." When crossing into this world, each of them has a random talent. And Scar Dog's random talent is called Energy Drive. Energy Drive, consuming energy blocks can open a space door, so that a random shuttle in an area, according to the star level of the energy block, the distance of transmission will be different. This. Scar Dog was stunned for a moment, took the energy block in Chen Jiang's hand, and a flash of pain flashed in his eyes. "Brother Jiang, we managed to get this energy block. Without this energy block, we will not be able to assemble our own vehicles, and our actions will be restricted everywhere in the future. It's a waste of time. It's too unwilling. It's too late to talk nonsense." At this time, the gunfire outside had stopped, and the entire store had already been riddled with bullets, and he had already heard the harsh sound of brakes and the warning sound of residents backing away. This means that those law enforcement officers have arrived. "Let's go, you won't be able to leave if you don't go." "Yes." Scar Dog's eyes flashed a hint of reluctance, and he held the energy block in his hand painfully, activating his talent, and prepared to open the space door and leave here. Bang! With a sound, not too small, the energy block turned into white mist, and an illusory gate about 1 person high was condensed in the air. Walk! At this time, the crisp sound of the grenade ring was already heard outside the house. Chen Zhongdang, who had no time to think about it, even carried the burlap bag on his shoulders and prepared to rush into the space door in front of him. But at this moment he suddenly saw a prop in a glass box under a cabinet next to him. It seemed to be a little precious, but it was at the bottom of the cabinet, close to the ground. At first they didn't see it at all. Basically, there is no hesitation. Chen Zhang suddenly stopped and rushed towards the cabinet, grabbing the glass box and stuffing it into his arms. At this moment, he heard the rolling sound of the grenade being thrown into the room and falling on the ground. Walk! After he roared anxiously, he broke out at the fastest speed in his life, exerted his strength to suckle, and charged straight towards the door of space. And Scar Dog, when he was drinking, he didn't have time to think about it. He carried the steel sword self-control multi-barreled cannon on his shoulders, rushed into the door of space, and disappeared in place. Just when Chen Zhang rushed into the door of space. Boom! A huge explosion sounded behind Chen Zhang. The deafening sound, the scorching heat, and the powerful impact almost made Chen Zhang think he was going to explain it here. It took about a few breaths. Chen Zhang and the two appeared in a warehouse with their heads slightly dizzy. They shuttled through the space door just now, as if they were thrown into a meat grinder. The experience was very bad. Shaking his head, Chen Zhang, who let himself regain his clarity, quickly surveyed the surrounding environment. Looks like an abandoned warehouse. The surrounding ground is covered with a thick layer of dust, and it can be clearly seen that there are many messy footprints on it. There should be many people who have passed by this warehouse recently. It can be seen that this group of people is very lazy, and they don't even bother to clean up. Where is this place? Scar Dog quickly glanced around, and after confirming that there was no danger, he breathed a sigh of relief. This talent is amazing, it can really be used like this. It has been 3 months since he came to this world. This is the first time he has used his talent. After all, he has never had so many energy blocks for him to squander before. Especially things like energy blocks are strictly controlled. Do not know. Chen Zhang shook his head and said hurriedly, but there are a lot of footprints here, and they are still very fresh. It should be a warehouse with a main store. It is best to get away from it as soon as possible. In this world, it is not something that can occupy such a large warehouse. Good power. Then he glanced around, searching for the warehouse door. You must go to the street as soon as possible, a vehicle, and leave City 18 quickly to be considered safe. As for why, he didn't the vehicle at the prop shop. This is because all vehicles in the 18 cities have their onboard systems connected to the Law Enforcement Bureau, and when all vehicles leave the factory, the Law Enforcement Bureau will leave the highest authority on the vehicle. In other words, if they a vehicle in front of the law enforcement agency and escape, the law enforcement agency can easily use the highest authority to turn off the vehicle and wait to die. That's why they had to wait for Maze's car to respond. Maze's armored off-road vehicle was illegally modified privately, and there was no back door left by the Law Enforcement Bureau. The reason why Skardog is so reluctant to that piece of energy block is because they have always wanted to own a vehicle that they assemble themselves, which makes the action a lot more convenient, and can completely kick Maze out of the game, swallowing all the gains from the action. Instead of letting Maze take almost no risk, he can get 50% of the profit. But if they are decisive enough, if the Law Enforcement Bureau doesn't react, they can take a vehicle and leave completely, as long as they don't get targeted. Just when the two were about to leave, on the ceiling of the warehouse, a few strong lights suddenly shone down, instantly illuminating the originally drowsy warehouse to the point of day. They even saw the tiny dust flying recklessly in the beam of light. Crack, snap, snap. A middle-aged man in a suit and a top hat, surrounded by a group of younger brothers with rifles while applauding, strode in, stood less than 5 meters in front of Chen Zhang, and looked at Chen Zhang with admiration. Opened his mouth. Your Excellency, it should be from the Nightcrawler. I've heard for a long time that people from the power of Nightcrawler have a strange whereabouts, and it is difficult for ordinary people to find them. There is no place in this world that you can't enter. When I see it today, it really lives up to its reputation. I Ling Lang gang this warehouse. There are more than 30 people on the outside, and they are closely guarded. You can sneak in quietly without disturbing anyone. Good, very good. This middle-aged man with a face with a Chinese character first flattered, and then he drank lightly and clapped his hands. A subordinate next to him held a small black card in both hands and took a step forward. This is a credit card with no authority at all. It contains 1,000,000 credit points. It is the price we agreed upon. Since you are here, this card will be given to you. According to the rules of your night crawlers, collect money first and then do things. In 3 days, I want to see that old man's head. Is there a problem? At this time, the Scar dog has completely stunned in place. Did they stray into the trading location of some gang, and why should they see their heads within 3 days? They're not killers, they're mistaken, big brother. If you say now that you are just passing by and have no other meaning, you have found the wrong person and leave immediately, can this group of people believe it? If you believe, can you let them go? The corners of Chen Jiang's mouth twitched slightly, staring at the uninvited guests who suddenly appeared in front of the fortress and gave him 1,000,000 credit points and said bravely, "People." He was going to delay for a while to get a feel for the specific situation. After all, he's not really some kind of nightcrawler, and he's talking about a bad name, like a second armed person. However, he didn't wait for him to speak. Then he saw the middle-aged man at the head, and saw the steel sword self-control multi-barreled fort on Scar Dog's shoulder for a while, and couldn't help laughing, "But I'm clumsy, I thought your assassination method should be night clothes plus the slightly ancient method of the sword. I didn't expect that the way you assassinated was to carry a steel sword and control the multi-barreled fort. This kind of assassination method is really unheard of. Also, using a steel sword to control the multi-barreled turret, naturally you can't take out the head, and I'm afraid even the whole corpse can't be left behind." Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com as expected of a nightcrawler. It opened up a new means of assassination. Since that's the case, you don't need to bring your head back. You just need to give me a video of the old dog being bombed to death. I want to be sure, the old dog is dead. Can this be done? The corners of Chen Jiang's mouth twitched again, and inadvertently glanced at the steel sword self-controlled multi-barreled gun turret that Isker dog carried on his shoulder. For a while he didn't know what to say. The person in front of him who clearly identified them as night walkers. I always feel that this operation seems to have stepped on a lot of nails. He took a deep breath and prepared to bite the bullet and continue the play. Anyway, it seemed that the person in front of him didn't know the true appearance of Nightcrawler. In that case, he should be able to fool around. Then he pretended to be calm and said softly, "In 3 days, you will see what you want to see." Okay, cool. This middle-aged man is not an ink person either. With a wave of his hand, he asked Chen Zhang to take the credit card with 1,000,000 credit points and a memory card the size of a fingernail to Chen Zhang. This card contains all the information about the target of your assassination, including his appearance and where he often went. And Chen Zhang took this anonymous credit card and this memory card calmly, nodded coldly, turned around and walked outside the warehouse without speaking. After staying away from the sight of the person behind him, Chen Zhang looked at each other, and after a while, they were afraid of surging in their hearts, but they didn't dare to delay any longer. They stopped a car and shot the people in the car upside down into the trunk. The two of them drove the car, stepping on the accelerator to the end and heading out of the city. The natives of this world are almost the same in appearance. Not only are the languages the same, they even heard familiar accents from some of their mouths. But the natives of this world and the people who have passed through are naturally hostile. As long as they meet, they will definitely meet with a sword. And these so-called players who have passed through can hide their identities very well in many cases, but once they kill or fight, a line of small characters of player so-and-so will appear above their heads. It looks like some junk page games. Hey! Skardog took a deep breath, and was relieved when he saw that there was no vehicle chasing in the rear-view mirror, but he didn't dare to let go of his vigilance for the first time, but held the shotgun in his arms and kept an eye on it. Surrounding conditions. The two did not talk. The stolen private car is connected to the Law Enforcement Bureau in 18 cities. Once someone reports the car missing, the Law Enforcement Bureau will call up the real-time transmission of the car's past recordings. That is to say, all the conversations between the two in the vehicle at the moment will be heard in the Law Enforcement Bureau one day in the future. Therefore, the two naturally wouldn't talk at this time to avoid exposing some information. Soon, the two drove out of the city and came to a wilderness. They drove the car to a road that was stumbling over a pit, and then threw a flaming lighter into the fuel tank. Then the two quickly retreated in opposite directions. And thick hot flames rose up behind them. Not long after, the two of them came to a river that looked a little dirty, with a thick layer of what looked like oil floating on it, as well as all kinds of white garbage, some messy weeds and branches, and so on. It was a sweltering summer, and the smell was so stinky. The two glanced left and right, and after confirming that no one was following, they checked each other carefully, and confirmed again that there were no bugs, locators, and other messy things left on the two of them. Just looked at each other. Without any hesitation, both of them pinched their noses and jumped down. Pfft! Small water splashes. However, Chen Zhang and Scargu dived into the water, and instead of swimming forward, they swam behind them. The structure beneath the soil at the edge of this river channel is a little different. Belongs to the concave shape. Below the edge of the river bank is not solid land. It has been washed away by the corrosive things in the river water for many years and has fallen off a little. Only the top layer of the surface is not very thick, but the bottom is empty. However, this layer of soil is not directly connected to the river, but has a space of about half a person's height in the middle. Hey! When Chen Zhang and Scar Dog dived to this place, Chi reached out of the water and glanced at each other before taking a few greedy breaths, tasting the thick heavy metal smell in the air. Then, a huge container erected not far in front came into sight of the two of them. The height of this container is much higher than the water surface, but it is not connected to the soil above, which not only ensures that the river water will not pour in, but also ensures that there is a high enough distance for two people to drill in from the entrance. This container may have been washed over by the river, and it just happened to be stuck here. When the two of them discovered the container, it became their secret stronghold, which contained a lot of food and props that they had collected hard. And this secret base can be said to be basically safe. Most people would never have imagined that the soil on the edge of the river was actually empty, and a huge container was hidden. And it won't be discovered by the law enforcement's hounds and the mutant beasts. The extremely heavy metal smell covers up all smells, making Chen Zhang and others nowhere to be found. Of course, it's just a bit of a construction hazard. After all, no one knows when the layer of riverbank soil above the container will collapse and bury the entire container. The two have used rivets and brackets as much as possible to build a lot of triangular shelves to support the soil. After all, only this container is empty around it, and the rest are solid. Just how long it can last, only God knows, they are not architects. Soon the two of them turned into the container. He threw all the clothes soaked in the river water in the corner. After a brief rinsing with the water reserves in the container, he put on new clothes, sat in the container, and took stock of the harvest. The container is erected at the bottom of the river. This is a relatively large container, about the size of a master bedroom at the bottom. There was a table, 2 sofas, and some props they had collected beside it. Chen Jiang's hand cannon and Skardog's shotgun were assembled with these props. Brother Zhang. Skardog, who finally relaxed, put the shotgun in his hand on the table, and said with a slight excitement, "This operation has made a lot of money. Not only did it bring back a steel sword self-controlled rotating turret, but also picked up 100 for nothing. 10,000 credits. What a good thing this is. I have to check what day of the week it is today. I have decided. From now on, today will be my lucky day. It's hard to say whether it's a blessing or a curse." Chen Zhang stared helplessly at the steel sword automatic control fort. This fort is obviously an order purchased by a major force, and we cut him off. This is a vengeance. And we pretended to be night crawlers and received 1 million credit points from the Leng Lang gang. After exposure, it was equivalent to having a revenge with the night crawler Leng Lang gang at the same time. Furthermore, Kazuma's face was completely torn. This good guy, in one action, made an enmity with the forces of the quartet. This is also considered a unique talent. But the corresponding harvest is also very rich. Scar Dog grinned heartlessly and said, "The ancestors are right, the risks and rewards coexist." It's true. Chen Zhang and Scar Dog looked at each other and began to spread the sack on the table to check the harvest. It's been 3 months since they came to this world. Killing mutant beasts will drop items, but most of them are not powerful. Occasionally, you can also pick up some parts of props, and certain parts of props can be combined to assemble some powerful props. When they first came to this world, a voice sounded in their minds, explaining global travel, and after giving each player a random talent, the voice never sounded again. And Chen Jiang's random talent is will transform. You can break through physical limitations and transform all the firearms in your mind, as long as you have enough materials and props for strengthening, such as a large sniper rifle with a caliber of 3000 km and a barrel of 10 km. This talent, how should I put it, is a talent with relatively potential. But not immediately. The same is true for Scar Dog's talent, it's only useful when escaping, and it's random. This has led to the fact that the first 3 months of their arrival in this world is basically no different from living in a hurry. They live in fear every day, and they also create their own weapons and build a few small strongholds. A little sense of security. Chen Zhang then looked down at the hand cannon in his hand. Item name, Burst Hand Cannon. Item level, 1 star item. Prop effect, 7 rounds of ammo capacity. The rate of fire is 1 shot per second. The effective killing range is 30 meters. 5 pounds of recoil. Props introduction, the thick muzzle of the forearm greatly improves the power and can guarantee that a single shot will knock down a cow. Modifiable range, caliber, ammo capacity, rate of fire, barrel length and recoil. PS, the recoil force is not calculated in kilograms, but it is convenient to quantify and understand. All recoil forces in this article will be described in kilograms. And the last value of the hand cannon information panel is only visible to him. This is also the ability brought about by his talent arbitrary transformation. Among them, the caliber and recoil were strengthened once respectively, which cost him a lot of materials and props he brought back. Aperture enhancement +1 effect, the caliber is increased to 5 cm, and the bullet size automatically changes with the caliber. And if you want to strengthen the caliber again, you need to sacrifice 3 1-star items. Brother Zhang. Just as Chen Zhang stared at the hand cannon in his hand and began to ponder how to transform it, the Scar Dog's eyes flickered, staring at the extremely ferocious steel sword self-controlled rotating cannon. Brother Zhang, use your talent to modify this fort too. When the time comes, we will build another armored vehicle and install this battery on the roof. Wouldn't that mean killing gods when you see gods, and slaughtering Buddhas when you meet Buddhas? Let's not say anything else, at least there's no problem with running wild in the wild. I'll do it for that pockmark then. Damn it, he almost killed us. He didn't do it. I can't get rid of this anger in my heart. Steel sword automatic control rotating turret. It is a turret with automatic shooting. After it is placed somewhere, activate the program to automatically attack all hostile creatures within the range. Item name, Steel Sword Self-Controlling Rotary Turret. Item level, 2 star item. Prop effect, 1000 rounds of ammo capacity. The rate of fire is 1000 rounds per minute. The effective killing range is 500 meters. The recoil is 50 pounds. Can be rotated 270 degrees. Enter the whitelist in the program. After activation, people who are not on the whitelist will enter the killing range and will shoot indiscriminately. Props introduction: this guy can guarantee you a good night's sleep in the wilderness. Modifiable range, caliber, ammo capacity, rate of fire, barrel length, and recoil. Chen Zhang stared thoughtfully at the extremely ferocious steel sword automatic revolving turret in front of him, with a trace of heartbeat in his heart. This fort is silver-white throughout. There is a tripod below to fix it somewhere, and on the tripod there is a barrel as thick as a calf. Behind the of the barrel, there is a white magazine about the size of a pack of cigarettes, which is not removable, and some mess. Power cable. It looks a bit like a Maxim machine gun. It's just that the workmanship is more beautiful. Just now, he was still thinking about how this artillery battery can identify the friend and foe. He didn't expect that it would be more convenient to use the whitelist method, and the possibility of manslaughter would not be too much. I still have to get a car. After thinking about it for a while, Chen Zhang sighed helplessly. If there is a car, we can put this battery on the roof and go do some big shots. Unfortunately, the energy block that I finally got has been used up. It's not easy to get another energy block. I mean. Scar Dog narrowed his eyes, paused for a while, and said hoarsely, we directly carried this fort, ran to the trash dump in Maize, made it for him, and got his car back. And this old thing has swallowed a lot of things from us during this period of time. It's time to settle the old and new grudges. Bear it. Who will resist? I resist. You. Chen Zhang swept the eye-scared dog up and down. Can you withstand a 50 pound recoil with your body? Bone is broken for you. Brother Zhang, it's better if you give it a makeover, and reduce the recoil. Chen Zhang frowned. After thinking for a while, he looked at the modification panel of the steel sword automatic control rotating turret. Reconstructed recoil required materials, 5 1-star items. Enhanced effect, the recoil force is reduced from 50 pounds to 45 pounds. For several other modifiable options, the amount of props consumed is the same. 1-star props, only 3 1-star props are required for a single attribute to go from enhancement +1 to enhancement +2. As for the 2 STAR items, it takes 5 1 STAR items to strengthen to +1. The amount consumed is not of an order of magnitude at all. Chen Zhang hesitated for a while, then Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com shook his head. No, it consumes too many materials, it's not worth it just to strengthen the recoil. Maize is going there, and the fort must be strengthened. But it's not to strengthen the recoil, but to strengthen the capacity of the bomb. But when we find a place, we can place the steel sword self-control revolving turret in the bushes, and all the people who give the old thing will die. Count how many props you grabbed this time. Okay. Soon. The two of them cleaned up all the stolen props. Brother Zhang. Skardog put down the last item in his hand and looked up at Chen Zhang. There are a total of 26 items, all of them are brand new, have not been used, and are not in any damaged state. Half are life props, half are weapon props, and a few are disposable props. Isn't it too bad to use new props to strengthen the turret? They used to transform their firearms and used semi-scrap items picked up in the junkyard to strengthen them, but because Maize was always on guard against them, he didn't let them get close to the junkyard at all. I can only occasionally steal a few while Maize is not paying attention. The so-called semi-obsolete props are props that have been damaged to the point of being completely unusable, and even have the risk of self-destruction, but they are not completely damaged props. This kind of tool is useless to others. But for Chen Zhang and the others, it is a good reinforcement material. Chen Zhang squinted his eyes, swept over the new props on the table in front of him with a little reluctance, and said softly, I can't bear to let the child have a wolf. There will be a lot of semi-scrap items that can strengthen the turret. Hey! Skardog licked the corner of his mouth, his eyes flashing with excitement. Brother Zhang, you must give me a shotgun with a caliber enhancement value of 100 meters. Why are you so obsessed with the 100 meter caliber shotgun? Chen Zhang looked at Skardog speechlessly. You think so? Skardog sat cross-legged on the ground with excitement. If my shotgun has a caliber of 100 meters, that shot goes out. My dear, what's the difference between a salvo of 100 rocket cars? If the caliber is strengthened to 1000 meters, it will be a missile silo salvo at all. If the caliber is strengthened to 10,000 meters, it will be a meteor shower impact. With this shot, all gods, demons, and monsters have to kneel. After Chen Zhang was expressionless for a while, he said faintly, if you don't increase the caliber of your shotgun to 300,000 meters, you will shoot the sun directly. Well. Skardog held his chin with one hand and pondered for a while before opening his mouth and said, if you want to jump out of the sun with one shot, 300,000 meters may not be enough. Why not 3 million meters? 3 million meters is enough. Already. It is said that the sun's energy is huge, and a large number of nuclear bombs are just scratching the itch. I don't know, if you can eat my shotgun with a caliber of 3 million meters, it will be like scratching your itch. Okay, stop dreaming. Everyone has to have dreams, right? You really dare to think too much. My biggest dream is to be a scientist. Chen Zhang let out a sigh of relief, looked at the 26 items that he had worked so hard to get back on the table, and prepared to greatly strengthen the fort. Soon. As he strengthened, a hoarse voice came from his mind. Ding! You consumed 5 items. Enhanced the ammo capacity of the steel sword self-controlled rotating turret to +1, and the ammo capacity from 1000 to 2000. Double increase. Chen Zhang was stunned for a moment, then nodded with satisfaction, that's not bad. The ammo capacity must be strengthened, it is too small, otherwise 1000 rounds of ammunition will be fired in 1 minute, which is really too stretched. And this turret is not the same as the machine guns on the Blue Star with a bullet chain, but a magazine. A magazine about the size of a pack of cigarettes. Can provide 1000 rounds of energy bombs. After the energy bomb is exhausted, it will continue to recover to full after 24 hours. After the bullets are exhausted, they can automatically recover to full after 24 hours. He still doesn't know the principle of this, but he roughly identifies it as photosynthesis. And after he strengthened the ammo capacity, the energy bullets in this magazine also increased to 2000 rounds. With a rate of fire of 1000 rounds per minute, it can last for 2 minutes. But still a little bit. Without any hesitation, Chen Zhang increased the ammo capacity to +2. This time, 6 items were spent, and the ammo capacity was also increased to 3000. 7 items were spent to strengthen the ammo capacity to +3, and the ammo capacity was also strengthened to 4000. At this point, he had already purchased 18 items. The batch of props that was snatched back was only 8. After a little hesitation, Chen Zhang scolded secretly in his heart, what if you love it, and smashed the last 8 props onto this fort. Since then, the ammo capacity of this turret has been enhanced to +4. The ammo capacity has also risen to an astonishing 5000 pieces. Basically, you can achieve continuous coverage shooting within 5 minutes. In fact, if he had the conditions, he wanted to increase the rate of fire, but there was no way, there were not so many items, and the rate of fire was too fast, and his ammo capacity was not enough. This fort should be enough to deal with Maze's group. It's all used up. Skardog took a breath of cold air in distress, and said with a slightly bitter face, Brother Zhang, your talent is too much of a waste of props. The 26 brand new props we just grabbed were smashed in the blink of an eye. But the effect is still very gratifying. Chen Zhang patted it with satisfaction, and the silver-white fort in front of him said, let's not say anything else. With only 5000 rounds of ammunition capacity, as long as Maze's group of people step into the range. Send this group of people to the sky in minutes. At that time, this ruined field will be exclusively owned by us. Hey, I've already begun to look forward to it. Skardog let out a sigh of relief, and shook his head a little distractedly. Brother Zhang, what kind of world do you think this is? Why did those natives see us as if they saw mutant beasts, and shoot without saying a word? Obviously we didn't mess with him at all. I don't know, it might be a war. Chen Zhang shook his head, and he didn't know what was going on. He just guessed, maybe when we people from all over the world crossed into this world, it was someone who asked us to invade the indigenous people in this world. Invasion? Since ancient times, no invader has been slaughtered as soon as he stepped into the enemy's territory. Maybe we are failed invaders. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Now that you've decided, it won't be easy to delay. Now go to Maze's side. Yes. Soon. The two of them stuck their heads out of the water full of garbage again, glanced around and saw that there were no people or mutant beasts around, then they got out of the water and swam towards the shore. Hey! Skardog put the cannon he was carrying aside. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com took out a tightly packed plastic bag from its arms, took out a few pieces of dry cloth and a few bottles of water, and did a simple cleaning. Only then did he scan the surroundings again, his eyes narrowed and he said in a low voice. Brother Zhang, we will definitely get along in the future, right? I don't want to live in this kind of place anymore. Every time I go up and down, it's a kind of torture. Definitely. Chen Zhang held the hand cannon in his hand, roughly cleaned up his body, glanced around vigilantly, and said in a low voice, we can definitely mix it up, just like on Blue Star. And below. The two have already entered their information into the whitelist of the Steel Sword Automatic Control Selection Fort. Just activate the turret. This turret will indiscriminately attack enemy targets within its own range. The effective range is only the range of maximum lethality, not the longest range, nor does it mean that the fort can only kill a target of 300 meters at the farthest. Afterwards, the two looked at each other, and without any hesitation, they carried the steel sword self-controlled rotating turret and rushed towards the ruined field where Mesa was. The sun has set. It's almost dusk. It's getting dark. Hurry up, the wilderness after dark is not very safe. And the reason why they would go looking for pockmarks even in the dark. It's because the law enforcement officers found no corpses in the prop shop. There will definitely be news and a wanted notice. And if Mesa knew that they didn't die in that prop shop, I will definitely make great preparations to prevent them from seeking revenge, and it will be a lot of trouble then. Naturally, it is better to start early. Soon. Chen Zhang and Skardog touched the ruins. The two hid in a dirt pit. He placed the steel sword self-control battery on his shoulders in the dirt pit, grabbed the dust on the side and smeared it on the original silver-white battery, making the battery look a little messy. Not far away. You can vaguely see a ruined field that is brightly lit. There are no walls around, only countless garbage dumped here. At dusk, I could see a few jacks in the middle. There was no work. It was probably the driver who got off work. This ruined field is not Mesa's territory. It is owned by City 18 and is managed by someone. Mesa and the others are considered stowaways. They usually hide on the edge of the ruins and use this place as a settlement. They only come out for a stroll in the dead of night. After all, those of them, the people who crossed over from Blue Star, came to this world, and they were basically the lowest existence. Even if you want to monopolize a place like the ruin yard, it is completely impossible. You can only survive as a parasite. The people of this world hate them very much for the people who have passed through. To be more precise, it is hatred with a strong fear. Soon. Chen Zhang and the two hid the fort in this pit. The fort was slightly higher than half a calf on the ground. Under the cover of the sky, if you didn't stare at it carefully, you couldn't notice it at all. But only once activated. Before the bullets are exhausted, all creatures within the effective range will be attacked indiscriminately. Brother Zhang. Seeing that he was about to prepare for action, Scar Dog suddenly stopped Chen Zhang and said with a complicated expression, "You don't remember a word you said to me on Blue Star." "What?" Chen Zhang didn't lift his head to check the golden bullets in his arms. Unlike the energy bullets in the battery, the bullets of the hand cannon in his hand were real. Due to its large size, he carried a maximum of 7 additional bullets each time he went out. The larger the caliber, the more powerful it will be. And the reason why he needed such a large caliber hand cannon was not to deal with the natives, but the mutant beasts wandering in the wilderness in the dark. These mutant beasts, each with rough skin and thick flesh, were shot with small caliber pistols, and could not kill them in one hit. But it is not a very beautiful thing to face the mutant beasts that were not killed by one blow, but were also provoked with blood. You said, you must chase strangers when chasing girls, not in your own circle of friends. It seems that the contact between two strangers will greatly increase the vigilance, but in fact, girls are holding them in front of people they know. Especially in front of his friends' friends, he pays special attention to his external image and is worried about the collapse of his personality. In this case, it may be difficult to get to know each other at first, but once they get in touch, the relationship between the two will heat up quickly. Because girls can worry a lot less, for example, they don't need to worry about jumping in front of you, and they don't need to break up with you in case some friends who used to play well gradually drift away, so they don't need to worry about you knowing some of your past black history, etc. Anyway, Brother Zhang, you said that if you meet a strange girl who is interested, you can try to get to know it. The success rate is very high, right? I seem to have said this, what's wrong? After Chen Zhang checked all the firearms in his arms, he raised his head and glanced at Skardog, slightly puzzled. Why do you suddenly mention this? Before I crossed over, didn't I pursue a girl all the time, just as you taught me, Brother Zhang, and then I failed? It's not the same as what you said, Brother Zhang. Tisk. Chen Zhang shook his head and laughed, patted Skardog's shoulder and said earnestly, sometimes, we have to learn to be smarter. For example, we can't force a person who hates coriander to eat coriander every day. Similarly, we can't ask a girl whose previous boyfriends were fitness instructors to like you, who is as thin as a bamboo pole, right? A trace of shock flashed in Skardog's eyes. Brother Zhang, how do you know that the girl's previous boyfriends were all fitness trainers? Why didn't I know about it? Ugh. Chen Zhang shook his head helplessly and said, most entrepreneurs fail because they lack certain market research. So, to beat other competitors, you only need to do 2 things. First, find out more about him. Second point, avoid exposing more information yourself. Just like now after Chen Zhang wiped his hand cannon lovingly with a white towel, he tilted his head to look at Skardog and grinned, that Pak, the investigation of me is not as much as the investigation I have of him. So, he will lose. Then he strode forward. Leaving Skardog nodded thoughtfully, and murmured vaguely. So I should like one next time. The previous boyfriends were all skinny. Wait, Brother Zhang. Seeing the back of Chen Zhang who was about to walk away, Skardog didn't have time to think, and hurriedly chased after him from the pit. Brother Zhang, you interrupted my train of thought. I mean, I've never been in love in my life. In case I get planted this time. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com. You must remember to burn a few more girls for me. Otherwise I wouldn't be willing to die. I can't plant it. Real or fake? I lied to you. I lied many times. Then it's definitely true this time. It didn't take a while. Chen Zhang and the two had already held their breaths and dived into the huge ruined field in front of them. Not much effort was wasted. After all, apart from the security guards who were armed with real guns, there were no defensive measures in this ruin. After all, it was just a ruined field, and there was really no need for any defensive measures. and the action routes of those security guards were all too familiar to them. It was easy to sneak in. Soon, the two of them touched a pile of rubble. Under the pile of rubble, there were several containers lying on the side. They held their breath and could vaguely hear extremely low voices of conversation. And Maisie and his group are hiding here. These containers are also their temporary strongholds in the ruins. Chen Zhang and Scar Dog looked at each other. He didn't hide anymore, he stood up from the hiding place and made some footsteps. He took out a flashlight, pointed it at the places where the containers were, and then made some inaudible conversation sounds. Soon, almost instantly, those containers became completely silent. A dead silence. Accompanied by a rustling sound, Chen Zhang, who had been staring at the container, clearly saw the cloaks behind the container sway a few times. Maisie's group escaped. Stayed in the ruins for so long. As long as he is a person with a normal mind, he will think about what to do if he is found in the ruins, so he starts to think about the way back, that is, the way to escape. At this time, the group of Maisie followed the back road they had prepared and left quickly. And this route? Chen Zhang naturally memorized it in his heart. Of course, Maisie would definitely not let him come into contact with them. After all, he is not Maisie's henchman, he just joined in halfway, and there are frequent disagreements with Maisie. But, in everything, one is afraid of having a heart. As long as you have the will to do it, nothing can be hidden. Including the so-called extremely hidden back way. Chen Zhang and Scar Dog stood there, looking at the half-a-man-height pipe on the ground next to the container, but did not speak. This pipe is also garbage. It's just construction waste, and the large-scale garbage, such as construction waste, has always been thrown in the east of the ruins and is not destroyed. There should be a fixed period of time, and they should be destroyed uniformly. Maisie and the others took advantage of the darkness to place these pipes that were originally in a mess in the eastern part of the ruins field, all of which were connected together, leading to the outside of the ruins field. Just in case, the people who have the ruins will come to patrol their area by chance, a place where they rarely come. Make good use of this channel and quickly escape from the ruins. Certainly. Maisie and the others weren't stupid enough to connect all the pipes, mouth to mouth, that would be too stupid. Especially in the eyes of crane drivers during the day. Like a messy oil painting, a regular crawler suddenly appeared. Extremely dazzling. Therefore, these sections of pipes are not connected together. Instead, for every two connected pipes in the middle, there is probably an open space a few meters away in the middle. And these open spaces have already been arranged by Maisie's people. It's not a container that's only half left, or it's passing under the garbage heap, or some messy garbage is scattered around. In short, reduce the chances of being discovered during the open space period as much as possible. Moreover, it is not just such a pipeline. But there are 7 or 8. 7 or 8 pipes are scattered around the eastern part of the ruins at random. For example, one pipe is drilled out, and there are 2 pipes in front of it. One can be chosen to leave. It can be said that Maisie is a person who understands the 3 caves of the cunning rabbit. In this case, if it wasn't for the ruin yard to arrest them on purpose, Maisie and the others wouldn't be able to be caught. However, even if the cunning rabbit has 3 caves, it will be caught by the hunter. As Chen Jiang's flashlight seemed to gesture casually, Maisie and the others obediently followed the pipeline in his heart and ran towards the outside of the ruins. The light from the flashlight was very weak, but it was enough for Maisie and the others to see clearly. And Chen Zhang has always ensured that his flashlight beam is slanted down, which can minimize the chance of being discovered. Damn! Pak, who had just emerged from a pipe, looked at the 2 pipes in front, and before he had time to react, he saw the flashlight's Guanzu, which came over from the east. After he couldn't help but scolded secretly, he didn't hesitate to get into the pipe facing west. Tonight, the security guards in the ruins field have been patrolling around like crazy. On weekdays and nights, These security guards should be in the guard room on the west side, playing cards. What kind of nerves did you have tonight? Arrive. Chen Zhang stopped, stood beside a pipe, and looked at the dozen or so people who kept coming out of the pipe in front. Here, it is already the edge of the ruins. After running a few steps forward, it is a wilderness. Uninhabited. And the battery they buried in the pit was hidden not far in front of Maisie and the others. He turned around and glanced at the ruins behind him, and after seeing that there was no movement behind him, he looked at the group of Maisie who were madly fleeing forward under the night. Not a few steps. This group of people has completely entered the range of the battery. And this time Maisie, who was running in the middle, looked back subconsciously, wanting to see if the security guards had chased after him. However, it doesn't matter when he turns his head, he happened to see Chen Zhang and Chen Zhang standing next to the pipeline. A hint of disbelief flashed in their eyes, and subconsciously scolded, "Fuck, are those law enforcement officers in City 18 trash? Can two big living people of this size be allowed to run away?" Afterwards, he hardly hesitated, his face sank, he abandoned the group of men behind him and ran to the side. The speed was much faster than ordinary people. Obviously, Chen Zhang and the two lured them out. Undoubtedly, there must be a trap set by Chen Zhang ahead, although he doesn't know what trap it is. But based on what he knew about Chen Zhang, since Chen Zhang survived and found him, there is basically no room for calm and talk, and only one of the two can survive. At this time, Chen Zhang raised his brows slightly, without hesitation, a silver white button in his hand was pressed down. Ka-ka-ka. A faint metallic sound resounded in the pit not far from Maisie and the others. Soon, a silver-white fort covered with dust can be seen vaguely, and it came out. And a page that looks very sci-fi, with translucent flashes of various data, appears above the fort. The steel sword automatically rotates the turret to be activated. There are hostile creatures, stepping into the territory. Start firing indiscriminately. Almost at the moment when Maisie ran to the side, that ferocious fort started to emit its own unique roar. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Accompanied by a slightly harsh sonic boom, pure white light bullets, like little chickens. One by one, forming a line, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com shot at the group of people who were still running forward. Like a sickle cutting wheat. Those who ran at the front, barely had time to react, fell on the spot without saying a word, and the blood slowly flowed out of the body, forming a pool of blood. And by the time these people behind them reacted and roared and prepared to fire back with guns, it was already too late. This is a cannon, not a machine gun. The fist-sized light projectile hits the person, causing neither piercing wounds nor trauma, but a fog of broken limbs. Not even a minute. It was only 10 seconds. The battle is over. There is some movement, which is very likely to cause the security guards in the west of the ruins to come to check, and they must be resolved as soon as possible. Chen Zhang and Scar Dog looked at each other, and they trotted all the way to the pile of corpses. For those who still had the whole body left, without any hesitation, he shot one by one in the forehead. To prevent sudden corpse fraud. And Maisie, who had already run a certain distance, also fell to the ground at this time, just as Chen Zhang was walking in front of him, ready to make up for the knife. The dying Maisie, with viscous blood with bubbles gushing out of his throat, his eyes filled with a strong desire to survive, looked at Chen Zhang unwillingly. Wrong. I was wrong. Please, please, forgive me, let me. Chen Zhang calmly raised his hand cannon, pointed at Maisie's head lying on the ground dying, and pulled the trigger. Bang! The blood mist splashed onto his clothes. He raised his head and glanced at the wilderness, his brows were slightly wrinkled, and he did not speak. He walked towards the Scar Dog again, preparing to finish making up the knife as soon as possible. From beginning to end, not a single word was said. Bang, bang, bang. The silent gunshots kept ringing in the wilderness shrouded in darkness. Soon Chen Zhang and the others searched up all the props on Mei's body, and quickly left the place. These corpses don't need to be dealt with. After dark, the mutated beasts will get rid of these unowned corpses. As for the brown dirt stained with blood, no one cares about that, it's all over the wilderness. The steel sword self-controls the rotating turret, and the bullets it shoots have no substance, they are light bullets. It can be roughly understood as converting the energy in the magazine into bullets and shooting them out. And Chen Zhang strengthened the ammo capacity of the self-controlled turret, thereby increasing the energy in the magazine several times. Yes, this is not reasonable. But since the world was thrown into this strange world, there are even more unreasonable things than reasonable things, and he has gotten used to it. The two did not return to the ruins immediately, occupying Mei's chassis. Instead, after simply cleaning the traces, he stayed not far from the ruins, holding his breath and waiting patiently. They must know clearly whether the security guards in the ruins have noticed any movement here. Otherwise, rushing back to the ruins would be self-defeating. After a while, there was no movement in the ruins, and the strong lights on the crane did not turn on. It looked like he didn't notice this at all. And this time the sky was completely dark. They had already vaguely heard the roar of the mutant beast not far away. Chen Zhang and Scar Dog looked at each other. Without speaking, he picked up his luggage, bent down and re-entered the ruins, occupying the original territory of Mei's group. Hey! After everything was settled, Scar Dog breathed a sigh of relief, sat on a cushion piled up with discarded clothes, stared at the shotgun beside him in a trance, and muttered. It's hard to imagine that now I would turn into a person who kills at will. How can it be called random? Chen Zhang looked at the newly seized props in front of him, and said casually without raising his head, we have clearly planned this for a long time. I mean, we were law-abiding citizens 3 months ago, but now we've become people who can kill without blinking an eye. It's normal. Chen Zhang stared at the tool in his hand, frowned slightly, and said casually, being a law-abiding citizen on Blue Star conforms to the survival rules of that world, and killing people here is to comply with the survival rules of this world. Humans are very adaptable, and fortunately we do this well. You mean it's not us, but the world? It's like this, if this world is the same as Blue Star, we can still be law-abiding citizens even if we cross over, so we can add one more item to the bill in the future, such as, not discriminating against travelers and the like. So, it's not that we want to kill, it's the world that forces us to kill. Full score for comprehension. It's just. It's not me, it's the world that's wrong. This sentence sounds like a Mittelleifterroder. It's really quite a middle school. After all, people who say this usually have to be a villain with a miserable family background or something. Chen Zhang casually threw a prop into Skardog's arms. Okay, let's not talk about these things, let's see how this prop is. Skardog raised his brows lightly, and took the prop in his hand. Item name, Racial Declaration of War. Item level, no level. Item effect, after use, you can freely choose to join any race, and declare war on other races on behalf of that race. Item introduction, join a race to get the exclusive talent of that race. P.S. When joining some races, the body shape may change to a certain extent. WTF. Scar Dog was stunned for a moment, and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. What is it to join a race arbitrarily? I originally thought that people from all over the world were thrown into this world to fight against the indigenous people of this world. Now it seems that it is basically a chaos, and different races are enemies. Chen Zhang shrugged and acknowledged, it is generally understandable, maybe it can be understood as a chick-kneading game, but, there are more people. But since we came to this world for 3 months, we have never seen any other race except the natives of this world. It means that we are still safe now. Maybe in some places, a battle of hundreds of clans has already begun. No. Skardog frowned and stared at the small blue card in his hand, a little puzzled, Even so, but, declaring war on other races is really so easily decided by this small card? I'm not sure, maybe we can give it a try. Chen Zhang tapped his finger on the table for a while, then thoughtfully said, it may be just a form of voting. Only when a certain number of votes are reached, will war be officially declared. Skardog licked the corner of his mouth, sighed helplessly, and tentatively crushed the card in his hand. I always feel that with our current status, how can we have the qualifications to declare war, and we won't be. It would be nice to kill them all. The next second after the card is crushed, a virtual translucent picture suddenly appeared in front of him. Ding! Congratulations to the player Skardog for activating the Racial Declaration of War card. Players, please start choosing races. Human, lizard, goblin, machine. Chen Zhang leaned over his head, counted it carefully, and came to the answer in his heart. There are a total of 97 races. 97 races. Scuffle. Skardog's face was ugly and gloomy and said, Brother Zhang, how many people will die? Hard to say. Chen Zhang shook his head earnestly. If there are really 97 races, in such a world where a life-and death melee begins, then the history of this world will surely torment the future candidates who want to cry without tears. What race are you going to choose? Considering the Titans? Looking at the introduction of the race, it should improve the shape of your bamboo pole. Forget it. Skardog shook his head. Let's choose the human race. I can't accept killing humans with the Titans. Alright, it's better for humans to be more comfortable. Soon a picture appeared in front of Skardog again. Ding! Congratulations to the player Skardog for successfully choosing the human race. Successfully obtained the exclusive talent of the human race Phoenix Nirvana. Given that the player Skardog is the first player in the human race to open the camp, he will officially open the human camp in the 10,000 race arena, within the next 3 days. People of all races can freely choose whether to join the human race. The first player to open a faction. Chen Zhang grasped the word keenly, touched his nose subconsciously but didn't speak, feeling, it seemed a little strange. And the Skardog looked at his human race exclusive talent, a little dumbfounded. Phoenix Nirvana, the exclusive talent of the human race. The human race is a very resilient race. In a short history, it has climbed from the lowest position of the food chain to the top of the biological chain step by step. Among them, strong resilience plays a crucial role. So evolved, Phoenix Nirvana's exclusive talent. Everyone who joins the human race will have 2 lives. Fuck. Skardog couldn't help but cried out in shock. The racial talent of the human race is to have 2 lives. Isn't this talent too strong? This fault tolerance is greatly improved. No, what kind of existence is this so-called arena of 10,000 races? Can people come back to life from the dead? How does it feel like a game, with 2 lives left? Chen Zhang also raised his brows lightly, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Then the two looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. Without any hesitation, the two quickly picked up their weapons and came to the edge of the ruins in the dark. Looking at the corpses of Maisie and the others who were still lying on the ground unattended by the mutant beasts, they took out their guns one by one without worrying about it. This time I have to be more serious. Except for the head, the abdomen and limbs were all broken. After all, if these people are resurrected again, the fun will be great, and no one can stand a sudden shot in the back. After doing all this, the two talents quickly returned to the ruins again. Hey! Skardog wiped the sweat from his forehead, took a deep breath, and sat on the stool. I'm more relieved now. And when they just left, the two of them heard a message at the same time, and it sounded in their ears at the same time, but they were busy repairing guns at the time. Now, Sora had to look carefully. Global announcement. The human player Skardog has officially opened the human camp. Within 3 days, all players can freely choose whether to join the Terran. Join a race to get exclusive race talents. This decision cannot be changed. Once you join a race, you cannot quit. Players who haven't joined the Terran within 3 days can also choose to join other factions when other races officially open their factions. Excuse me. Chen Zhang couldn't help but sighed. Global announcement. It's been 3 months since I came to this world, and this is the first time I heard a global announcement. It is estimated that this voice rang in the ears of all the 97 races at the same time. Scar Dog, you are also famous now. But it's a good thing. Now only the human race has established a faction. As long as you join, you can get race-specific talents. It is estimated that many players from other races will also join the human race in these 3 days. In this way, when the 100 races fight in the future, the human race will also have the most players, and it can be regarded as a little more hope of living to the end. But Skardog frowned slightly, and pointed at the picture in front of him with some unease, but now it wants me to choose the race to declare war. I have a bad feeling that if I choose to declare war, maybe I will. This should be. Chen Zhang nodded earnestly. After all, a thing that can make announcements all over the world might actually declare war directly. Isn't this a little playful? It's a bit of a child's play, but we left Blue Star well, and suddenly being thrown into this place is a bit of a child's play. Brother Zhang, which race did you choose to declare war? Let's choose that machine race. This race kills our human race the most. The most important thing is, we only know this race, and we have never seen other races. Mechanics. Scar Dog stared at the option with a complicated expression. The mechanic were the people in the 18th city, and the prop shop they grabbed belonged to the mechanic. The people of the mechanical family are half machines, half flesh, commonly known as mechanical transformation people. Possesses the destructive power to surpass the physical limit. Of course. There are also many people in the mechanical family who have no mechanical transformation. These people are all poor and cannot afford to be transformed. It is good. Skardog nodded and chose to declare war on the mechanical race. At this moment, a page appeared in front of me again. Please choose one sentence to declare war, within 18 characters. Attention, this sentence will be broadcast around the world, and players of all races will hear it. Hi. Skardog didn't take a deep breath and looked at Chen Zhang with a headache. Brother Zhang, the feeling of not being so good is getting stronger and stronger. It asked me to choose a word to declare war. What did I say? I can't say that everyone here is trash, right? Before waiting for Chen Zhang to speak. Suddenly, a global announcement sounded simultaneously in various languages in the ears of players of all races. The human race player Skardog, representing the human race, officially declared war on the mechanical race. Declaration of war. I can't say that everyone here is garbage. The two clans will officially start a deadly battle. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Human players will get high rewards for killing machine players, and vice versa. For a time a declaration full of ridicule and helplessness appeared at the same time, ringing in the ears of players of all races. I can't say that everyone here is rubbish. Chen Zhang looked at Skardog with admiration on his face, and gave a thumbs up. You are really kind. You are equivalent to declaring war on 96 races at the same time. The human race was originally the first to officially establish a faction, and it belonged to the Tianhu start, but now it has become a Tianbeng start. If nothing else happens, the name Skardog should be nailed to the pillar of human shame. Of course, this is based on the fact that the human race can still have history. No. Skardog explained a little emotionally, I just said a word casually, why did it intercept my words? Why doesn't it intercept my first sentence? Obviously, the war was deliberately started. Chen Zhang shook his head and said casually, judging from this point, this 10,000 race arena should be controlled by someone behind the scenes, or it was self-conscious, who deliberately intercepted your words. Focus on the human race, so that the war can spread faster. But it's nothing major. Because only the mechanical race and the human race will be rewarded for killing each other, other races should not provoke human race players at will, so as not to overturn the boat in the gutter. Of course, it still adds some difficulty. But, there's nothing you can do. It can only be this way.